Welcome to another stupid week. My name is Ari Kraus, and I'm trying to make this political science degree work. Here are all the stories that you were too lazy to read about in the last week. It's the week after Biden's visit, and if you were expecting anything to change, then, well, do you really know anything about Joe Biden? Let's just stop and laugh for a moment that the notion that the US was going to come to the Middle East and show us how we can work out our differences. As if to prove that nothing has changed, 2 rockets were fired from Gaza early Saturday morning, presumably to protest the president's stance on issues relating to Israel and Palestine. And this proves that even Islamic extremists aren't crazy enough to attack Israel when the president of the United States is in town. Both rockets hit open areas, and there was no damage to buildings or civilians that were reported. Israel retaliated a few hours later, reportedly targeting a missile site, with the IDF saying the site targeted was one of the largest and most important sites in the Strip for the production of base materials for rockets by the terror group, and additionally asserted that this would significantly set back the rocket-making capabilities of Hamas. Set back till when? Until the next time they shoot a rocket at us? Does anyone seriously think that this is going to make any change? My only other question is, what were they waiting for this long? In other surely this will free Palestine news, for those of you who watch Canadian Drag Race, you would know that last weekend Egyptian Palestinian drag queen Halal Bae, which is a fantastic name by the way, was eliminated from the competition. She protested her elimination in the traditional Palestinian fashion by comparing it to the Nakba. The contestant, who is a staunch supporter of the Free Palestine movement, was sent packing after losing a lip-sync battle, as shock fans said she was robbed following her first round elimination in last week's episode. Listen, I really don't know what I'm looking at because Canadian drag race competitions are as far out of my wheelhouse as it gets, but I'm pretty sure this is not going to free Palestine. And moving on to Israeli politics, if I said the phrase Golden BB, would you think it's A, a cocktail, B, a sex act, or C, a stupid piece of jewelry that lit up the Hebrew media sphere this week? Unfortunately, very unfortunately, the answer is C. I'd be really interested to know what a Golden BB was as a sex act. I don't know if this is so much an election update as it is an everything is terrible and everything is really stupid update, but they might just be the same at this point. Earlier this week, the Likud primary candidates were being urged to wear a golden loyalty necklace with Netanyahu's face on it. The first sighting of this necklace was on Twitter.
קיבלתי שרשרת הצהרת נאמנות, אז עכשיו אני אתן לך גם.
Here you can see Likud activist and primary candidate Heidi Moses trying to put the chain on a very reluctant Israel Katz, who immediately took it off and passed it to someone else. The medallion looks like this, and please tell me that I'm not the only one who's seeing this. If you thought that this was the end of the story, then I don't really think you appreciate the depths of stupidity that this election is driving us to. In response to the video, Katz wrote a tweet denying that he even knew what the chain was when he was seeing the video, immediately taking it off. He also added, "I don't wear chains," which sounds like a great rap video if you're not a really old Likud primary candidate. Poor Katz is trying to thread the needle between not wanting to disrespect the golden BB idol, but also trying to look like a gutless loser wearing a golden chain with his boss's face on it. This is bound to get uncomfortable when he finds out about BB's line of loyalty banana hammocks. In other election news, Merav Michaeli won her bid to head the Labour Party into the next election. Merav Michaeli's back-to-back primary victories were the first ever since the Labour Party began holding primary elections in the early 90s, thus ending their tradition of decapitating their leadership after every failed election bid. And the opposite side of the political spectrum, the 2 biggest assholes in Knesset are fighting over who is more popular. The head of the Otzma Yehudit party and Israel's Cartman, Itamar Ben-Gvir, said Monday that despite his growing support in the polls, he would still be willing to let far-right religious Zionism leader and Kim Jong-un impersonator Bezalel Smotrich lead a united slate in the upcoming elections, while suggesting that the longer the negotiations are stalled, the greater the likelihood of the 2 parties running separately. Ben-Gvir's Otzma Yehudit faction partnered with the religious Zionism party along with the anti-LGBTQ party, the Noam Party, last election and gained 6 seats after Netanyahu blessed the union because for Netanyahu, there is literally no bottom as long as he can get votes. I'm going to go with Kissinger on this one and hope that they can both lose. In other religious extremist news, the Jews are loose in Iran. The UK Financial Times published a report on Tuesday citing an Iranian official titled only as a reformist politician, which I'm pretty sure is a very relative term in Iran, was quoted saying that it feels like Israel has established a large-scale organization in Tehran and running its operations freely. Yeah, he's right, it's called the Mossad, and they're not exactly running a falafel business either. This is probably due to an outbreak of sudden death syndrome and suddenly pushed from a roof syndrome that is tearing through the high levels of Iranian civilian and military officials, with links to Iran's totally peaceful and not at all being used to create nuclear weapons program. The politician added, Israel is clearly targeting Iran's highly secure image to tarnish its greatness in its people's eyes. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. I really don't think that we have anything else to add. And the good news is that all this Mossad activity might be for nothing, as nuclear weapons are apparently haram in Iran. We can all go home, nothing to see here. This is at least according to a Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson assuring everyone that Iran still adheres to the fatwa that banning weapons of mass destruction issued by Iran's supreme leader. Well, I guess it's settled then. No need to worry about nuclear weapons, I guess. This has all been a gigantic misunderstanding. We should have just read the fatwa. Iran has laughably insisted for decades that their nuclear program is for civilian and peaceful purposes only. In giving in to terrorism like cowards news, the Belgian parliament ratified a treaty this Wednesday that would release an Iranian terrorist being held on a 20-year sentence after only 1 year when he attempted to bomb a rally of an exiled Iranian opposition group. The Belgian government has argued that the treaty would secure the release of 2 Belgian nationals that are being held in Iran on trumped-up charges of espionage, including a Belgian aid worker named Olivier van der Kasteel, who was detained in February. It is not uncommon for Iran to hold foreign nationals on suspiciously made-up charges in order to extract something from that national's home country, a practice that legal experts often call extortion and blackmail. Belgium seems to have decided to try a new strategy of giving the terrorists what they want in hopes that Iran might moderate their behavior. Kind of like when you feed a hungry cat and it doesn't come back to visit you ever again for anything. Not everyone in the Belgian government seems to be a fucking idiot though, as Belgian lawmaker Michael Freilich tweeted, Belgium is making a grave mistake by yielding to blackmail, and I think we are opening the gates to hell by signing a treaty with the devil. Good luck to Belgium. I'm sure nothing bad is going to happen from this. And finally, is Israel hiding nuclear weapons in its embassy in the United States? According to one crazy person on Twitter, who also happened to have been a congresswoman and Green Party presidential candidate, the answer is yes. Yes, we are. Cynthia McKinney, PhD, I assume there should be a question mark at the end of that, said, what do you think about this? During a nuclear weapons material sweep of several major cities, it was discovered that all the Israeli embassies emit large amounts of neutrinos, which means Israel storing nuclear weapons in their embassies. Couple points of order. Number 1, what is a nuclear weapons material sweep? Number 2, Israel only has 1 embassy in all the United States. We can give her some benefit of the doubt and maybe think that she's talking about consulates. And point of order 3, I checked with a science friend and scanning neutrinos are famously difficult. But I don't know why I'm arguing with this person, because her evidence was based off of something written on a website called Gemstone Media that offers no proof and looks like a Babylon 5 erotica fanfiction website. So my question to Cynthia McKinney is, number 1, can you provide any proof? And number 2, if we are storing nuclear weapons in Israeli embassies, what are you going to do about it? Thank you, everyone. This wraps up another stupid week. This was all the news that you need to know about. Literally, if I didn't talk about it, it didn't happen, and it doesn't matter. It definitely doesn't have to do with the fact that I don't have time and actually have a job. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing and sharing with your friends. And if you didn't, then forget it ever happened and try again next week. And now, your random internet moment of the week.
Everybody here, and Hasta la vista, baby. Thank you.